Hello, everyone. This is Rick Tobin again with some hints that will help you have better outcomes for disasters and catastrophes. Let me follow up on my first 10 plays comments from the last presentation I did for you on documents and more. The picture that you saw coming into this presentation was obviously of a football player, in this case a quarterback, who's going into the game starting out in the first quarter. And what does the coach usually do? They usually give them the first 10 plays ahead of time. Now, these have become more complicated over the years. Now they've got a list on their arms that basically looks like the New York City telephone book used to look like. But the basic idea was this, which I used to talk to people about many, many years ago when I was teaching the public about how to prepare in businesses. If you can get the first 10 things done right that you have to when something strikes, if they are the most critical things, and you don't have to think about it because you've already written it down, you know what you have to do. We used to call them bullet lists, but people didn't understand that. They're basically, these are the things you are absolutely going to do if something happens. And sometimes it's key information that you have to have with you. Now, just like the football players, I tried to get this installed in places years ago, and people went, well, I don't know if I'd use that. And yet I would see people in emergency centers, people in business operations, private citizens, when something bad happens, deer in the headlights. It is really important to have something you just grab and you start looking at it and you go, if I do this stuff, my chances of getting out of this at least fairly unscathed are going to be much higher than if I try and memorize something or I think I was supposed to do something. You have it down ahead of time. And how do you do this? Well, this is one of those arm pieces. And you open it up and it's got a whole list of things. It's covered in plastic. You can write on it with an erasable marker and pull these things out and use two sides of them and then seal them up, put them around your arm, and you're ready to go. You got it right there. Those are the things you have to have. Now, the first 10 plays are different for each person, each family, each business, each organization. You have to decide what's important. Now, what you might do, and this is just a recommendation, is you've got to have things that if your cell phone went down, and there's a very good likelihood it could fail or you could run out of power, what are key phone numbers, key contacts? What are some of the medical things you want people to know if they find you? In the situation in Turkey right now, I just hate to think about all the people coming out of those ruins and they don't know anything about their medical condition other than they just came out of a ruin crushed. So you probably want to keep it close by or at least in your car or somewhere where you think you're going to be able to get a hold of it quickly. You might have two of them or more. Now, I will tell you, if you go for a big brand name, one of these, and I'm not going to show the brand name, I'm not going to do that, you could pay $20 or $30. But there's places online, I found them for like almost $3 or $4 a piece. In addition to the information and the steps you might want to put on here, I had also suggested I try to get someone to work with me on this and produce these, and maybe we would sell them. I recommend that you get a small compass. I know they're really cheap, but at least you have something to work with. Little round compass. You can get these off the internet. They cost like $1.64 a piece. You could get a couple of them if you wanted to. And some of the flat thermometers, where you're going, well, I'm not worried about having a fever or whatever. Well, you don't know later on, but it can also tell you sometimes, depending on what kind of a flat plastic thermometer you get, what the air temperature is. And with the things that are going on now, you better know what that air temperature is because we're having weird weather these days and you could get caught and not realize, ooh, I could freeze out here or I could get frostbite. So those are some things you can put in there. I wouldn't put my medical tag in there. You could also put a little cash in there if you wanted to, or a credit card that you don't use often, if you can keep this protected. That's really important too. You don't want somebody grabbing a hold of it and they've got your information. One of the other things that's valuable too inside of this, because it does have plastic and it is sealed. Remember I told you how important it is to have pictures of your children and their footprints and their fingerprints and so forth. You could put those in here as well. Or pictures of your pet. I can't tell you how many people get separated from their pets and their livestock, critical livestock, especially people who have horses or very, very expensive cattle or pigs or sheep or goats, that they get separated during disaster and they have no way of proving to the people who are collecting the animals later, that's my animal. Well, we know that some livestock has tags in it and so forth, but some don't. And like your horse may not have any markings or something on it that show that it's your property, and people are going to be really reluctant to give it up because we've had people steal people's livestock and pets because they knew they could take them somewhere else and sell them or use them for some other purpose. So you really need to have some kind of paperwork. If your pet is really close in your family or your livestock is critical, you may want to have those records inside, if you can, inside this. And you can also put a thumb drive in there. I know that sounds like there's a lot of stuff in there, but you have to decide what's most important for you to have in there. But something you can grab real quick, put it on your arm, and those first 10 plays. Now, usually, I'm not saying this is for everyone. Usually, those first 10 plays are life-saving issues. Remember, I told you about upwind, uphill, upstream, unless you're downhill from a volcano. Thank you. Um, those are things to remember. Things like directions you're going to take, the pathway you're going to take, just to remind you what roadways, what are critical things that you have to have for your children, for someone you're caring for, an elder person or someone who's injured that you've been the caretaker for. There's all kinds of things that you may want to put on there and remind you, oh yeah, I got to do that, I got to do that, I got to do that. So if you have the first 10 plays going, you're going to have a better chance of winning the game of survival at the end. And that, my friends, is better than winning the Super Bowl, let me tell you. So thank you for listening in today. Go ahead and get your armbands if you can. That's the first 10 plays. And put in whatever works for you on those. Be safe. Don't be scared. Be prepared. And thank you for listening to these hints. I probably won't be putting any more up for a long time now. I've got other things on my plate I have to do. But I hope these hints that I've put together over the last couple of months have helped you in some way be better prepared for the challenges ahead, and there are going to be many. My friends, my love and best wishes to all of you, as we say here in Texas, vaya con Dios.